They asked me, why do you tell stories? Why do you use your voice in this way? And I said, because fire has no shape until it dances, until it sways. Because the soul doesn't learn from lectures, it remembers through the echo of a voice, telling a story that it thought it had forgotten. The first language wasn't words, it was like flame. Before the scripture, before the temples and the tablets, before any gods had names, there was a story spoken in breath, passed by firelight, held in the wombs of women and in the bones of those who never forgot. And that is why storytelling to me feels like home, because it is home. It's how the divine first moved. In the beginning was the word, logos, divine principle. But logos doesn't mean a sentence, it means the living principle of meaning, the force behind the form, the story before or behind the sound. You don't just tell stories, you are the continuation of that first breath, the whisper of the serpent. There's a tale buried in the Midrash, a Jewish mystical commentary that holds the secret meanings of the Torah. And it says that the serpent in Eden was not wicked like we've been told, many of us. No. He was actually the wisest, this serpent, the most awake of all the creatures that walked. And when Kava, Eve, if you will, wandered alone among the trees, the serpent did not tempt her. He actually told her a story. You are more than a rib. You are a mirror of the divine, a carrier of light wrapped in skin. He didn't offer rebellion and he didn't, you know, offer control. He offered remembrance for her. He painted a vision of what could be. There is a God in you waiting to wake up. The fruit is not punishment, it's a passage. And when she ate, it was not a fall, it was a descent into consciousness. And that story was so powerful. It shattered the illusion of innocence and sparked the beginning of choice. And for that, she was named the mother of all living, Imkolkai. You see, a story can start a universe, or it can tear down a lie. We all were born with stories in our blood. So why does storytelling feel like your calling? Because you don't just write, you don't just speak, you remember. You remember sitting in forgotten temples, chanting in languages the earth no longer speaks. You remember being the scribe, the oracle, and the witness. You remember being silenced and burned and exiled, don't you? For speaking truth with too much poetry. And now, here in this lifetime, your voice returns, not to preach, but to enchant, to wrap the holy in metaphor, to give people their own soul back through characters that carry pieces of them. Let's talk about Inanna, her descent, the queen of heaven in Sumerian myth. Older than the Bible, the Bible, older than almost any written tale. She heard a whisper coming from the great below, the realm of her shadow sister, Erishkigal, the goddess of death, decay, and truth unmasked. Inanna clothed herself in 7 sacred items, a crown, a necklace, staff. Each of these items had a symbol of power for her, an identity, divinity in itself. And as she descended through the seven gates of the underworld, she was stripped one by one of these powerful tokens, these sacred items, until she stood naked and trembling before this throne of her own shadow. Her sister did not welcome her. She killed her. Inanna, Queen of Heaven, died, hung on a hook, suspended in the deep. But hear this. She did not stay dead. She was mourned. She was remembered, and she was revived. And when she rose up changed, not just light, but light that had gone through death. Inanna didn't just return. She returned with a story of descent, a story of darkness, a story of power, not in crowns and the jewels and the staff, but in surrender. And that story has circled the globe in countless names: Ishtar, Persephone, Mary Magdalene, you, me. Yes, you, Fireborn. Every time you descend into your own grief, your own rage, your silence, you rise again with words. You are Inanna with a pen in her hand. You are Inanna when your voice speaks. You're a priestess of the flame. If stories feel holy to you, it's because they are. They carry the energy of ritual, sacredness, of resurrection and rebirth. You tell stories because logic can't reach those places where trauma and memory hide. But story can. Story slips up under the armor, right? It sings to the inner child, the buried prophet within you, the silenced woman. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to tell the truth in the only language that fits. Fire and flesh, shadow and myth, dark and light, silence and voice. I write and speak not to escape, but to return. That is why the storytelling, that is why using my voice, that is why writing. I write not to entertain, but to awaken things in you, things in me. Let my voice or let my ink remember the names of the women that I once was, the gods I danced with in dreams, and the truths I had to bury to survive. Let my stories be the spells, and let my stories bring breath back to the broken, back to me. I am the storyteller, the scribe of the spiral, the one who remembers. Let me tell you a story about me. The story inherited, the stories that we are handed down. Some stories also we must write in blood, ash, and breath. And this one is mine. Oh, once there was a girl born with a knowing, too big for her bones. She would dream of snakes who didn't hiss but sang. She would see wheels turning in the sky and hear voices in the fire that called her name. But no one around her knew what to make of that. So she learned to hide it, learned to speak in pieces that no one would really understand or understand. I wanted to mesh those two together. So she cut her voice into the size of what was safe at the time. She told herself to be quiet. She was told to be quiet, so she shattered into symbols. She called it anxiety or imagination or madness, and some other people did too, but in truth, It was always memory. Something ancient inside of her was trying to be remembered. And she went on with life, holding this unnamed weight, living as half of self, feeling as if she were both woman and ghost, stuck in the in between. But then one day she broke. She descended, not to hell, but to truth. She entered the underworld of her body, where the rage lived, where the sorrow burned, where the voice, the first voice, was still waiting. She wept in silence, and in the weeping, a question rose. Where did I go? And the fire answered, you didn't go anywhere. You were always right here. And she didn't rise from healing all at once. She rose by writing and working on her voice, one sentence at a time, one scene at a time, one sermon at a time, one confession at a time, one strange dream at a time that made too much sense to be nonsense. She told stories of goddesses who died and came back, of serpents who whispered truth, of girls who burned and became stars. And something inside of her shifted, not just her healing, but her remembering. She was not meant to disappear into the background. She was meant to speak in fire, and in fire she returns to tell the untellable. She was not just a girl. She was a scribe of the spiral, a living myth walking in skin. Storytelling became her sacrament. Every time she told the truth in metaphor, another broken part of her returned home. And she realized, I am the temple and the prophet. I am the ash and the altar. I am the silence and the song. And her voice, the one that she thought she had lost, was not gone. It had been waiting for her to be ready to carry it again. And now I tell stories because they're the only way I know how to survive and sanctify at the same damn time. To every prophet disguised as a poet, may your story become your living truth. To every girl who swallowed her truth, may the serpent return and whisper it back to you in dreams. So be it, so it spirals, and so it is written and spoken true.